the model Retest average range indicator, which is offered for various platforms on the TradingFinder website. Traders can download the indicator file for MetaTrader 4 and MetaTrader 5 platforms from this section, and to learn how the indicator works and operates, they can refer to this page. From the Navigator section, we select the indicator file, and by dragging the file onto the chart, we run the indicator. Once the indicator is loaded onto the chart, it starts identifying entry points for trades and draws the stop loss and take profit zones on the chart. The range average retest model indicator is a special and practical tool that traders can use to identify trade entry points and, based on the zones it draws for us, set the stop loss and take profit levels on the chart. This indicator identifies ranges on the chart based on the pivots we specify for it, and then it determines the average of that range. Finally, it waits for the price to pull back to that zone, and if the average level of the range is broken, it displays the entry point, stop loss, and take profit for us. In this section, we can see that it has identified the range zone here, where we had a bullish move. After the price corrected downward, the top and bottom of the range zone were determined, and finally, the average of the range was drawn here. If the price pulls back to this zone and breaks the average level of the range, the entry point is specified for us. Here, with the closing of this candle, the average range is broken, the entry point is specified, and the stop loss and take profit levels are displayed for us. We can enter a sell position in the market here, set the stop loss, and place the take profit level here. If the price breaks the average range level from any direction, the indicator will consider the position type in the opposite direction of the price movement and will draw the entry point, stop loss, and take profit accordingly. Ultimately, until the price hits either the stop loss or the take profit level, the range box will be extended for us, or we can have a risk-reward ratio of 1 to 2 here. As we can see in this part, the range zone is identified from this point to this section. With the price pulling back upward and breaking the level to the upside, the box is drawn in the opposite direction of the breakout, and as long as the price touches either the stop loss or the take profit level, the range box will continue to be extended for us. In the Settings section of the application, specifically located under the Input tab, there are a variety of different options available for us to choose from, where we can conveniently change and adjust various settings according to our preferences. The very first part that we encounter is the Swing Settings section, which is an important area. Here in the very first parameter, we are able to specify and set the length of the pivot calculation period. The longer we decide to set this particular parameter, the indicator will identify and highlight longer-term and larger swings in the market, providing us with a broader perspective. Conversely, the shorter we set this value, the indicator will detect and display shorter-term swings and smaller price movements, which results in showing us more frequent trading opportunities. However, it is important to note that the higher this value is set, the indicator will draw and present trading setups with greater reliability and increased confidence for us, helping us make more informed trading decisions. In the next parameter, we can also choose the display mode for trading positions from this section, which includes 3 options: both, bullish, and bearish. By selecting the both mode, it considers both bullish and bearish swings, meaning it takes into account all possible market movements. If you choose bullish, it only takes bullish positions into account, focusing on upward trends. By selecting bearish, it only displays bearish positions for us, showing trades based on a downward trend. In the following parameter, we can also set the sensitivity level for detecting zones within the chart here, which is especially useful when we have a new average and a new average range in the market and want to open a trade based on that. The indicator uses this section and this parameter to compare the current average with the previous average. It utilizes this parameter, which is a multiplier applied to the ATR, and if the distance between the two averages, that is the current and previous averages, exceeds the specified and calculated value, it displays the trading positions. If the distance is less, it does not display the trades for us. In fact, this parameter checks how far the new average is from the previous average and how much the price has moved. In the next section, under Trade Settings, the first parameter allows us to specify the maximum distance here, which is the maximum allowable distance between the entry point and the target point for entering a trade. This parameter is used when a range is identified and the indicator determines the maximum number of candles we have as an opportunity, and when our average range is still valid, so that the price can reach the average range level and break it, allowing us to open a trade and enter a position. If this value is exceeded and more candles pass than the limit, it considers that average level as invalid and does not display the trade. In the next parameter, we can also specify the minimum distance, which takes into account the minimum number of candles required to reach the average range level. If fewer candles than this value reach the average level and a breakout occurs, it does not display the trading opportunity. In the next parameter, we can also specify the multiplier for take profit and stop loss here. This is a coefficient that can be set in ATR, allowing us to consider different risk to reward ratios for these two parameters. By default, it is set to 8 and 4, which gives us a risk to reward ratio of 1 to 2 here. In the next section, we can set the style settings here. In the first parameter, we can enable or disable the display of range zones. In the next parameter, we can change the color of bullish range zones and bearish range zones to any color we like. In the following parameter, we can enable or disable the display of the average range level, depending on whether we want it to be shown or not. We can also change the color of the bullish average level and the bearish average level to any color we prefer. In the next parameter, we can enable or disable the display of take profit zones and change their color. Finally, we can enable or disable the display of stop loss zones along with their colors. Well friends, we've reached the end of this indicator tutorial. We'd be happy if you share your comments and suggestions with us in the comments section.